Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing, and we've got a lot of stocks to go over today. Some overextended on the relative strength index in the intraday, some oversold. And so we're going to go ahead and just jump right in. We're going to go over GDX. So GDX was my trade of the day that happened yesterday. So let's go ahead and go into that RSI recap. All right, so the trade of the day was double top on GDX. Gold was ripping, so that pushed GDX going higher. However, it stalled out in the pre-market yesterday. It got close to that level again in intraday. However, it got a decent pullback. Tried to get back up there, got another little pullback. However, it never reached our target. I still like that double top area. So here's what I was noticing on the charts. So here's GDX. This was the pre-market highs at 65.08. Price action on the GDX chart continued higher throughout the whole day. Look at this. This was on Friday, and then yesterday it continued the same price movement. It did dip below the 30 a couple times, but look at the amount of pullback it had. It had about a 1.1% pullback, got to this VWAP area. However, it didn't give enough of a pullback for me to signal, all right, so now all of a sudden GDX is starting to become weaker and there should be more rollover. So GDX still, for me, has more potential to the upside, $66.90. If we switch to the daily time frame with the overextension on the intraday RSI, I still think $66.90 is going to be the level. That'll be the double top area on GDX. You're going to have some significant resistance. I mean, this double top goes back to 2011 before this huge fall. So once price action gets up there, there's going to be these people who have been stuck at this level for a long time. And then once they get to their break even, they're going to go ahead and sell, pushing the price of GDX all the way back down. Eventually, I think it'll get back to $55.10. You're going to need a little bit more of a rollover in the gold chart. However, that would be more of a swing trade. Look at the relative strength index. Now it's above 73. Could go a little bit higher. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This would be the 7th day. Man, this thing is setting up perfectly. $66.90 for a day trade and possibly even a swing trade, depending on how it gets up there. You guys, I love setups like this. I love it when the intraday gets into the daily time frame. You get the relative strength index up on both of them, and then you're into a major key resistance levels. If it's good for a swing trade and you're day trading it, you can hold on to this for a little bit longer. It still means that you need some navigation. So I'm not going to go in a full position with this. I would start with like a quarter or 1/5 of my portfolio, and then take 2, 3, or even more as I slowly inch my way out of this thing. So GDX, beautiful chart. All right, so let's go ahead and go into a couple other setups. KHC, the Kraft Heinz company, it did have news that there was going to be a split, but look at the relative strength index on the daily time frame. It opened up lower and stayed pretty much below the 70 the whole day as price action continued lower. It did get a spike towards the end of the day, and it's up a little bit pre-market. However, this end of day could be just a little bit of short covering. So Kraft Heinz, for me, signals that there's more potential downside. You've got this beautiful downsloping trend line on the daily time frame. So if the Kraft Heinz company gets down to right below $25 on the charts, that for me is a great buying opportunity, especially with the relative strength index staying as low as it did for pretty much all day. So again, KHC, Pierce of $25 would be a great level. You got this beautiful support below it. All right, Target on the 1 minute time frame. Target kind of gave the same price action that KHD did. Price action continued lower, broke a couple support levels, but just continued to head a little bit lower. I had a couple support levels at $93.26. Relative strength index stayed low. This is the price action I love to see when entering a potential long opportunity. It did get above the 70 just barely right here. So for me, if target gets a little bit lower, for me, this entry price would be this gap fill or this double bottom right here that kind of correlates between these two pivot levels. So $87.10. You might get a bounce right at the $90 even number, but ultimately $87.10 is what I would like to see Target get down to. It's a weaker stock. Intraday, the relative strength index stayed so low that for me, this would be a great day trade below 90 or even 87. All right, so Nvidia had a great move to the upside. It did. So here's where it opened. It opened lower, and it looked as if the price action was going to continue lower. And then what happened is you flipped. So you got above the 70. Sorry, it touched the 70 and then got above. When you see price action reverse and start to go higher, give you at least a decent amount of a bounce off of these lows. That means now it's turning into a stronger stock because the relative strength index for me has flipped. You got some price action to the upside. And so for me, I would be looking at a possible short entry right here at $174.28 for Nvidia. So throughout the rest of the day or the early morning of the day, I actually felt like based on the relative strength index that that Nvidia was going to head a little bit lower, but again, the price action reversed and then started heading a little bit higher. So KSS was a strong stock on the day. Look at this relative strength index. It started low, but then look at this. Look at what happened. The buyer stepped in force, pushed this relative strength index up. You notice that the price action is heading higher as the relative strength index is heading higher. It's not the opposite, right? So with a weaker stock, what you look for is price action continuing lower as the relative strength index heads lower as well. So this gives you an example that, hey, there's likely going to be a flip in the relative strength index and create a stronger stock. And that's exactly what happened here with Kohl's KSS. It's trading at $16.20 pre-market. But look what happened. As soon as you got this buy program, then it stayed above the 70 and stayed at 70 or above, but it's definitely stayed above the 30, which means that for me, this is a relatively strong stock on the day, which could potentially get a bid today. So for me, $16.83, this would be a great shortable level. That would be from the pre-market. That would be about a 4% move to the upside. Could pierce this level. If you're interested in getting long or going short on KSS, a close on a 15-minute closing basis above this $16.83 level, for me, that would be where I would stop out of this trade. All right. So I've gone over a couple different trades, couple longs opportunities, couple short opportunities. Now let's go ahead and go into the RSI trade of the day. So the relative strength index trade of the day is Google. So Google had some news yesterday that the EU is no longer going to sue them, at least not yet. So what happened was yesterday after hours, the news came out, and look at what happened. Google headed higher, got all the way up to almost $230. So the RSI trade of the day is shorting Google at $230.06 and waiting for a 3 to 5% pullback. This would, to me, signals a great opportunity for a potential rebound or a pullback to about $222. That'll be about an $8 move on Google. That'll be a pretty substantial move to the downside. However, based on the overextension of Google, especially on the daily time frame, look at this chart. This has gotten a huge bid. Nothing that didn't have earnings or anything. So 230.06 with a pullback to $222. You do have additional trend lines that I had drawn in, a couple converging right at those levels. So you draw a couple trend lines and gives you a potential upside target. It did pierce these couple upsloping trend lines. However, based on the relative strength index, it is overbought, daily time frame overbought, and is due for a pullback. All right. So that's what I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in every morning, 8:45 when the market opens. I'll be here for you guys, giving you trade setups that happened yesterday and stuff that you guys can possibly take action on today. So if you guys like what you see, please like, subscribe, follow, ring that bell so you can get notified every morning. And please stay tuned. Gareth Soloway is going to be going over a lot of different stocks in the game plan. You don't want to miss that. And we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great day. Take care.